With the E5 method, all we're doing first and foremost is we're introducing a new and different way for your market to experience the outcome that they want. Like, if we don't go any further, right, and we just stop there for 1 second, like, that's critical. There's so much nuance in that. There's so many, there's just so much power in that one little statement right there, because you heard me say at the beginning of our time together that differentiation in marketing is critical. Right, first and foremost, let's take a step back for 1 second and just, right, let's just chat about this, right? Number one, very early on, you got to see, and hopefully you've realized and you've digested this and you've gotten this, that marketing and sales are not the same activity. Marketing and sales do not have the same kind of objective. Right? When we are selling, we're talking about the product, the service, the offer, the features, the advantages, the benefits. We're talking about the price, the terms, the guarantee, right? That's selling, right? Marketing is everything that we do and say and show and present and demonstrate to the prospect, for the prospect, to lead them to want the thing that we're going to offer them. Really, and I love the way Peter Drucker, one of the greatest management gurus ever, said it, right? The job of marketing is to make selling superfluous, to make selling unnecessary, to make selling or the offer presentation just a natural extension of your marketing. Don't you see how we've done that? Don't you see, or you should see, how the E5 method does that for you? That through that first 75%, that if we do what it is that first 75% is there to do, which is to get buy-in on your thesis, to get buy-in on, and what's the thesis? The thesis is that you have a new and different way to give your prospect, right, the result, the outcome that they want, and that your new and different way is the best, most efficient, most effective way for them to get that thing that they want, right? So you're introducing them to a new and different way to get the thing that they want, right? Just think about that, right? And that new and different way happens to be superior to every other way, right? And that is the one belief that we are trying to create. Why? Because if we create, or when we create that belief, we make selling superfluous. We make selling unnecessary. Why? Because your prospect then wants that unique mechanism. Remember, if we get them to believe the thesis that your unique mechanism is the best, most efficient, most effective way for them to have the thing that they want the unique mechanism. Why? Because it's the best way for them to get the thing that they really want. They want to use the unique mechanism because it's the best vehicle to get them to where they want to go. And so if we establish just that one belief, we've perfectly set up the sale for your product, making selling superfluous. I said at the very beginning, right, that this whole method was built on the fact that I hate selling. I don't like selling. I'm not a good salesperson, right? Fortunately, with good marketing, you can perfectly set up the sale. With good marketing, you can make the selling portion more of a presentation of an offer. And that's what you learned how to do. That's why, right, we put together a SIN offer, right? We put together a SIN offer, one that is superior, it's superior to competitors, one that is irresistible because of all of the benefits that we share, all of the different ways that this thing is going to improve and change your prospect's life. And we make it as much of a no-brainer as possible. Value proposition, terms, risk reversal, all of that, right? So we are basically setting up your prospect to want your unique mechanism. The only place that they can get your unique mechanism is in your product or service, and then we're presenting your product or service as part of an offer that is superior, irresistible, and a no-brainer. That's why it works so well. That can be done over and over and over and over and over and over and over, right? That is what's done over, and this process that you've gone through over the last 60 days, over the last 8 weeks together, is the same process that I follow. And so you see how now I told you at the very beginning that I've led you through this in a particular order for a reason. Everything was strategically done in this order for a reason. I always start, right? I start with the thesis. What is the one belief, right? So really, you could say that if I start with the examination, but being that, let's say if your main company is in a particular market or a particular niche or a particular space, you're always doing examination. You're always staying on top of what it is that your prospects care about, what's top of mind for them, what are they interested in, what's trending up in terms of topics that are at the forefront of their mind, what's trending down, what's new for them, what's old for them, right? You're always staying on top of that, and you always have to stay on top of that. You always have to continue to keep your finger on the pulse of your market, of what they want. Remember, like you heard me say, another thing that you should fully grasp, it ain't about what you want. It's not what you care about, what you love, what you're interested in, what intrigues you, what you find compelling. It's not about what would be a perfect outcome for you. That has nothing to do with it. There are more products and services that have collected dust on shelves because the creator, because the owner, the originator fell in love with them, and nobody in the marketplace really cared about it. The only thing that matters is what intrigues your market, what compels your market, what persuades your market, what do they find interesting, what problem do they want to solve? Not what problem do you want to solve, and not even what problem do you want them to solve or wish that they would solve, but the problem that they want to solve, the issue that they think that they have, the outcome that they want, the thing that they want more of, the things that they want less of. That's the only thing that matters. You always have to keep your finger on that pulse. And then we use that, and now I look at my own product, and based on that, and based on what I know about competitors and what competitors are saying to them and what competitors are presenting to them, now I'm able to look at my product. I'm able to pick up my product, and I'm able to look at it, and I'm able to say, based on what it is that I now know about the prospects in the market, what's different about this? What's unique about this? How does this work? Why does this work? And this probably isn't the greatest example, but right, you get what I'm saying, because we went through this, right? This is what I always do. And so I'm looking at the product, even if the product isn't created yet, right? Like even if the product isn't created yet, I'm putting this vision of this potential product through that lens, thinking to myself, what would drive them crazy? What would drive them wild? What would they love? What would they want? Knowing what it is that I know about the competitors, how could I position that? How could I present that? All right, now I'm starting to formulate this unique mechanism, and what would be the main payoff of that, and what would the benefits be? All right, so based on that, now I can create my thesis. Now I know what I need them to believe, what I need the market to believe, right? And it's all based on them first. It's all based on them first. What does the market right now like? What do they want? What do they care about? Boom. Now, how do I create that thesis? But I create that thesis, and I know I know the one belief. I determine the one belief that I need them to have in order to present my offer. And then I figure out what's the offer. And my job is to put together the best offer that I can, the sin offer, to make it superior, to make it irresistible, to make it a no-brainer. And we do that through that examination, right? And so now you've decided the thesis. Now you go to the offer, and you make that offer just an all-star. You make that offer a no-brainer. Why? Because you got to understand something, and I want you guys to get this. You've heard me say this numerous times throughout the E5 Acquisition Accelerator coaching, right? But I just want you to get it. And that is this, that remember, we're making this thing an all-star. We're making this thing truly irresistible. We're making it irrefusable. We're trying to put together an offer that would make somebody say, why the heck wouldn't I do this? That's our aim, right? That's our aim. That's the thinking I want you to have, because that offer has power. Like it really does. It has power to convert. It has power to make up for a lot of marketing weaknesses. In our case, we're putting that offer on the back of convincing the prospect that they want the mechanism that's in that offer. So together, it's this double whammy of they already want it. They already want the unique mechanism. And now we're offering it to them in this incredible offer. That's what we're doing. Right? That's what we're doing. Then we're going to the beginning of the campaign. Now I say, okay, I got the end. I got the destination nailed. That's important because I need to know where we're going. First and foremost, where we're going is, right, we're going to that thesis. I need them to buy into that thesis. I need them to believe that thesis. Why? Because once they believe that thesis, I perfectly set up the acceptance for the offer. I perfectly set up the sale for the offer. And then I know once I present them with a sin offer, I'm going to freaking wow them. Like they are going to be like scoffing this bad boy up. Okay. Now I got to go back to the beginning. Like you guys learned, I got to go back to the beginning of the campaign. And now it's like, look, I have to grab attention. And I know, and you know, right, that we are operating in a noisy world. We're operating in a freaking noisy world here, man, where messages, not only sales messages, advertising, marketing, news, everything is being slammed at people. How do we cut through that noise? How do we cut through the clutter? How do we make sure that your message, not necessarily you, not necessarily your company, certainly not necessarily your product, how does your marketing message stand out and get attention in a noisy, crowded, saturated marketplace? Well, you know, we learned the big marketing idea. The big marketing idea is how you get attention. You think, right? You heard me say, we're in the idea business, right? That's what I learned from one of my mentors, Mark Ford. right? We're in the idea business. We're in the business of generating these interesting, unique, compelling, different ideas, right? New, fresh, compelling, interesting, timely, immediately understandable ideas. That's our job. Our job, right? Because we're bringing a message to the market, a marketing message to the market, right? But we have to have an interesting idea to present that message. We can't simply how to grow big tomatoes. It's not going to cut it, right? That's not going to cut it. When people bring when marketers, when entrepreneurs bring ordinary ideas to the marketplace, you know what happens? They end up using puffery, flowery language, hyped up, exaggerated claims. Why? Because they've got an ordinary idea and now they're trying to make the ordinary idea sound great. And so they try to make the ordinary idea sound great by using extraordinary language, meaning hyped up, exaggerated claims. The way that you avoid having to use hyped up, exaggerated claims, extraordinary language, is by having an extraordinary idea. The extraordinary idea you can communicate with regular language. That's why we don't need puffery. That's why we're able to get attention with a big idea. Because the idea gets attention not because of the language, but because of the idea. It's intellectually interesting, because it's emotionally compelling. It also happens to be today a lot more compliant with platforms like Facebook than the typical hyped up, exaggerated claims for obvious reasons, right? And so that's what we're doing with the big idea. We're just trying to get attention. We're just trying to get attention. We're not trying to get attention with hype. That's the opposite. We're not trying to get attention with exaggeration, with hyperbole. It's the opposite. We're getting attention because of the idea, the quality of the idea, right? And then what we're doing, we're turning that attention into engagement. How are we doing that? With the lead. What's the lead? The first 350 words. You should understand by now, at this point, right, that there's a lead in every message. Whether it's a blog post, whether it's a video, whether it's a VSL, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a long form sales letter or a short form sales letter, it doesn't matter. There's a lead in every one of those. The lead, the first 300 words, 200 words, 100 words, is either compelling or it's not. It's either extremely enticing or it's not, right? And you understand that in your E5 campaign, the lead is there to translate that attention that we got with the idea into engagement. How do we do that? We roll out the elevator pitch for your unique mechanism. We take your unique mechanism, right, and we roll out the elevator pitch. We take the best of the best, the most exciting, most compelling, hottest aspects of your unique mechanism, why you're fired up about it, why it's so exciting, what it can do for your prospect, how it can change their life, how it could give them more of what they want, how it could take away what it is that they don't want, right? And you're bringing it up. You're leading with the lead. You're leading with it. The best of the best. You're not saving it. You're not waiting. You're not thinking, let me build up. Let me ramp up. Let me get rolling. Let me introduce myself. Let me present my logo. None of that. Because you don't have the time. You don't have the opportunity. You don't have the chance. Not anymore. Not with how much people are being slammed by marketing messages. You got to lead with a bang, as I like to say. You got to come out guns a-blazing, right? Like you really do. Lead with a bang. Because this is why, when marketers don't understand this is why they see, when they look at the analytics for their VSLs, they see this. They see this gigantic drop off right in the first 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 12 seconds. Why? Because they got people's attention and they didn't translate that attention into engagement. Somebody said, let me see what this is about. And then they said, not good, I'm out. We've got to set that emotional hook. We want, by the end of our lead, the way that I taught you, you want the prospect to say one thing and one thing only. And this is every time you do a campaign. Every time you do an E5 campaign, a front-end customer acquisition campaign, by the end of the lead, I want the prospect to say one thing and one thing only to themselves, whatever, right? This sounds amazing. This sounds awesome. Love it. Holy cow. Now prove to me that it'll work, and prove to me that it'll work for me. That's it. That's it. This sounds amazing. And now prove to me that it'll work, and prove to me that it'll work for me. And then we go into the argument, right? And then we go into the argument. And what's the argument there for? The argument is there to do what that prospect is really asking. Prove to me that it works. Prove to me why it works. Prove to me how it works. You understand that, right? We did this. We filled this. We put this together. This is your EBM content. These are your CPB chunks, right? This is how we address those gap questions. Those gap questions lead to the acceptance of the thesis. Acceptance of the thesis is answering what the prospect is saying at the end of the lead. Prove to me that this works and that this will work for me. Isn't that the thesis? right? Don't you see how that's the thesis? By proving that this works and that it'll work for them, we're getting acceptance if we prove that this will work and that it'll work for them, we get acceptance on the thesis. What's the thesis? That your unique mechanism is the best, most efficient, most effective way for them to experience the result that they want. And by doing that and doing that over and over and over, unique mechanism, so you have something new and different to introduce to the market, new and different way for them to get the thing that they want, right? And that new and different way, listen to me, you got a new and different way, and that new and different way is superior to every other way. Write that down. You have a new and different way for them to get the thing that they want, and that new and different way is superior to everything else. Boom! Your job is to prove that. Your job is to show that. Your job is to demonstrate that. That's what we do. That's the E5 method. When you do that and you get buy-in on that thesis, and then you roll out, you introduce the SIN offer, you've got money. And so that's what you learn. And that's what you guys can do over and over and over. That's what I do over and 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 over. That's it. Everything else is ancillary. Everything else is, you know, when people talk about upsells and downsells and bumps, those things are all valuable, wildly valuable, but they have nothing to do with customer acquisition. They have nothing to do with acquiring customers, right? That is all about the mathematics, the economics of what can you pay, what can you afford to pay based on what a customer is worth. They have nothing to do with, right? An upsell doesn't determine your conversion rate. A downsell doesn't determine your conversion rate. A bump offer doesn't determine how many new customers you get. Those things are all wildly valuable, incredibly valuable, right? For manipulating the economics of your customer acquisition. But what is critical is that campaign structure that you have there. And here is the reality. Even though I taught you a very specific way of setting up your campaign, which I believe is the go-to. Like, I believe that, you know, it's the easiest, fastest way to benefit from the E5 method. But here's the reality. The reality is this is the truth, right? In this small group. I don't really care what funnel model you use when you craft an E5 message, whether you want to use a webinar, whether you want to use a VSL, whether you want to use a multi-part video sequence, whether you want to use a long form sales letter, they all work with the E5 method, because it's not about the delivery model. It's not about the vehicle in which you deliver the message. It's about the fact that when you've got a message that converts, the reality is this: you should try to figure out as many different ways to deliver that. So you got a VSL that works. You should figure out how do we take that VSL, how do we transcribe it, or, you know, take the script for that, turn it into a long form sales letter and test it with direct mail, right? Like, how do we take that and turn it into, you know, how do we turn it into a book-a-log so that it looks like a book, and we mail it out to prospects and let them consume it as a book, right? Like, give the opportunity. When the message converts, it carries over to multiple formats. When the message doesn't convert, changing it from a webinar to a VSL ain't gonna fix anything, right? Like, it's either compelling or it's not. If it ain't compelling as a VSL, trust me when I tell you it's not gonna be compelling as a webinar, right? If it's not compelling as a webinar, it's not gonna be compelling as a long form sales letter. It's not about the vehicle to deliver the message, it's about the underlying message. That's what it is that you learned how to do. It's the single most valuable thing that you can understand as an entrepreneur, as the kind of the marketing mind right now behind your product or service.